Okay, one end of Inujians means when you lose a child, the loss of a child, the loss of an infant. When we lose a baby in our Anishinaabe community, is what I was talking about. And I had said earlier that we believe the spirit exists in that child upon conception. So, if a Anishinaabe mother should lose her child and maybe is transported to the hospital and loses the child while she's there in the hospital, I wanted to remind her to be sure you request a fetus or request the body of that little one. Because it's hard telling what the hospital will do to that little one. I hate to say this, but sometimes the Chimook, the white man, doesn't have the respect that we have for a lot of things in our life, including these little ones. It's hard telling. They might throw that fetus in the garbage, or maybe they'll dissect it and cut it up and do exploratory research. So we want to be sure that you bring that small one home with you, either call a funeral home to come and pick up that little one, and make sure that a coffin is available at the time of the funeral services. That we as a people are used to seeing a coffin and they'll place that little one in there. And like I say, it doesn't matter the size of that little one. I've said earlier, I've did funerals for those that are submerged in liquid even. And our families usually have the funeral in their home. And when I talk to the family, I always mentioned what our old men said. The reason our little ones go straight over there to that land in the west where people go when they change worlds and not stop here on earth is because those Manidoog saw something desirable in that child. And when that child arrives over there in that land in the west where our people go, they will be gifted with whatever it is was meant for them. So that's why that happens. What's unusual about infant funerals? I had my aunt, Julie Shingaby, and my uncle, Albert Churchill, spent some time with me and explained and talked about these infant funerals, so that's why I know it as well as I do. One thing about those infants, there is a path that we were given as a people that we take that goes to the west. And that place that our people go over there in the west is called Gagagayminawanagazwinning, land of everlasting happiness. And that's where that child goes. But there is a Manidoog over there that takes care of our people over there in that land. And he has a helper that he sends over for the funeral. And her name is Gagagayshkaniikwe in our language, which means everlasting young woman. She is the one that comes over and carries that child down that path all the way to that place over there in the west where our people go to. I had done a funeral in Mille Lacs for a mother who lost her infant. And the night of the wake, she said she saw that woman come in. And she said she looked to be in her 20s, and she had long, dark hair that went down to almost her knees. And she said, I saw her looking at my child, and I could see that love in that eyes, and that Manidoog's eyes for my baby. And she said that funeral was not hard for me after. It's not difficult for me after that. So that's what's unusual about these. Also, for those toddlers, for those that are carried, those small infants, it's the Gagageshkanik with a young woman that comes and carries that baby over there. For our young ones that are able to run and walk on this earth, there is a ball that they see that is sent over here. Now, this is spiritual energy. Who knows what it really looks like? But it comes in form and shape of a ball. And that is what the young one chases down that path, follows it down that path, and he or she will be helped to arrive in that place over there in the west where our people go. So, and I had, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, we also don't, it's not necessary to have an Anishinaabe name for that young one. The name that's used or referred to as Nuzis, which means grandchild when you're talking to that infant. And the thing also that's different about these funerals is not necessary to bring food in, because the child hasn't got to the point where they can accept food. When we bury our adults, we have a meal with the spirit before it goes on that journey. But with these infants, no. And what I do is, usually they bring food and I offer it up to those Maniduk to help that infant, complete their journey, but also to help the close relatives, the mother, in dealing with their grief. So, and the thing that also, with our young ones, normally when we do a funeral for an adult, we put 5 pieces of tobacco on their fingers. And they see Manidug on the way. And that is the tobacco they give to those Manidug, and they're allowed to go further down that path. But with a child, because their fingers are so small, we wrap that tobacco, that plug tobacco, in some red cloth and put it in the coffin. Also, the other thing that needs to be there for the infant is a toy rattle. I really think it's those old-time rattles that we had a long time ago. But you can get one toy rattle also. And also a baby's bottle with milk. Small amount of milk in there. And usually I always tell the mothers to put maple syrup in their natural sweetener. And that's put in there also. And I had talked about, or I hear Anishinaabe people or people in general talk about being haunted or hearing babies crying at night, even though there's not one around that they know of. And that is the spirit of a lot of our babies that have not been sent on. Their spirit has not gone anywhere. They're in limbo on this earth. So that's why it's important for us as an Anishinaabe is to do this ceremony and send the spirit of that baby to where our people go. That pretty much covers that.